it's Michelle Fix It. Today is June 20th, 2023. We just got out of the tunnel. We are on our way to Bethesda, which I hear a lot about, and I don't really think I go to very often. And now that I have this whole nifty blow up my GPS thing, I can like drive and get a little bit smaller of a map than I'm used to, but I can still talk to you guys. So now we're about to go through the Easy Pass thing, and we are on our way to Baby Hulk's pediatric nephrology appointment. And so we had to wait a while for this appointment to check on his stuff, and I am super excited about it. I am not super excited about having to pay a toll to drive on a road, and to like, it is kind of exciting to drive under the water with the tunnel thing, because I don't know if it's like a down south thing or what it is, but down south we will like hold our breaths if we go in tunnels, and like they have little challenges and children's games and stuff to do for that kind of, like when you're going under there. And so that's kind of cool. And I didn't think about that until after I got out of the tunnel, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to like tell that to Izzy, and that'll be a fun little crazy cat game that we can play whenever we're going through the tunnel. It's like, okay, let's see if we can hold our breath the whole entire time. Anyways, I didn't do very much recording yesterday, and I'm trying to figure out all the VOC stuff. I'm trying to put my house back in order because everything's been kind of chaotic, because when Charlie was going through all of his stuff, we had the house kind of fall into disarray and a little bit of chaos, and the Be More people helped us like move stuff from one room to another room to make it where like we had a cooler room, and we had this set up, and then we had this set up, so that like when he was having his seizures and all the other stuff that like for some reason, you know, we were told is perfectly normal, it's not. Just as a heads up, it is not normal if your child is having seizures and losing their vision and their hearing and all these other things. So I'm excited to be going to this appointment, because this is going to be the doctor, or one of the doctors, that specialize not just in kidneys, instead of like gastroenterology where it's like all of the gastro stuff, it's just the kidneys, and more specifically it's just the baby kidneys. So I understand that when you have these super special doctors, it takes longer to see the super special doctors, but that's because the super special doctors only deal with a very small amount of super special children in this case, or super special grown-ups. And I'm a big advocate for getting the best medical care whenever you have any medical things going on, because if you're seeing someone that's like, let's put it as a car thing. If I have let's see, we don't have some, you know, sort of special cars in their own little ways. So like the Transformer, you know, if the Transformer has a particular issue, am I going to take the Transformer to a mechanic that sees all of the cars, and she has a very specific thing that she needs, like for her transmission? If like any Chrysler person or any Chrysler car person, which I don't know if there's just like a Chrysler car person, but if you're a Chrysler mechanic, or even like just a domestic mechanic, or even just like, you know, you have a special interest in just the 200s for some reason, or just the front wheel drives, let's put it as that. You know, how many vehicles are on the road and they are rear wheel drive? Is a rear wheel drive the same as a front wheel drive? No, it is not. So if the Transformer has on her general search of Chrysler issues before we get the car, like that's what I did. I researched and I was like, okay, what are the problems that I need to be looking for this particular car? So it said that her transmission fluid and her filter need to be changed out every 40,000 miles. So what if she has like, for some reason, when we changed out the little, well, when I changed out the little, oh, I can't even remember what it's called. It's a little, it looks like, almost like a little cassette player, or like cassette from like back in the day, and it's an actuator, that's what it's called. So now that we've like done that mental head, you know, like trying to figure out what the thing is called. So So she has 2 actuators that control part of her air conditioning. And so if one of those goes out and it makes it where her air conditioning messes up, and this is even a better analogy, am I going to take her to a regular mechanic, just like a little Jiffy Lube place, just a fast, we just change out like the generic stuff, like the fluids and the belts and the tires and stuff? Or am I going to take her to an AC shop that is more specialized to ACs? Or am I going to try to find a domestic car person to figure out her stuff? I'm going to find the place that's going to help her the best, because as soon as they hear that click, 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 if they're an AC person, they're going to be like, hey, that's your actuator. It's like, oh, thank you for that very specialized information. Whereas like a shade tree mechanic, which I love shade tree mechanics, they're awesome. You do you, and like, grinds and all the little colloquials and stuff like that. But like the shade tree mechanic might be like, you know what? I'm not sure what that is. Let me try to research it, or let me change out this based off of prior information. And they may not get to that actual problem of the actuator. So that's why I'm excited for Charlie to be going to the nephrologist. I'm a little annoyed because we did have him also scheduled for a pediatric neuro appointment or neurology. And for some reason, like somehow along the lines, like that got canceled. So I have to reschedule that. But if I'm going to be for his particular case and things that we are not sure about that are going on for his particular case, I'm not sure if it's one of a few different things. And we're I'm not a doctor, and I say that all the time. I'm not a doctor, but I'm an expert of my son. So if you are a mommy cat and you have a medically complex child, or you just have a special child, this can also go to mental health, behavioral health, and you know that your child does better with XYZ, and you know your child does worse with, QRS, then you have to advocate, and you have to find those very specific people, whether they're doctors or therapists or whomever, to help your very specific child. When he had torticollis, I specifically looked for physical therapist, pediatric physical therapists that specifically put torticollis on their list of things that they took care of. If you have a connective tissue disorder, you need to be trying to find a connective tissue, physical therapist or a doctor, or, you need to find the specific one. If you have a bicuspid aortic valve, you don't need to be just going to see any cardiologist. You need to see the cardiologist that only sees the aortic valve disease or the aortic valve disorders or abnormalities or congenital disorders. Because these very specific doctors, yes, they're harder to get a hold of. They're harder to schedule appointments with. But once you're in the door, you become one of a few instead of one of so many that it's ridiculous that you're having to tell this person continuously, my child has blah, 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 or I have blah, blah, blah. Those are my little soapbox speeches, because right now we are on our way to somewhere that is way further away than I wanted it to be for an appointment. Because if we didn't pick up this appointment and to have to wait months to get to his appointment to begin with, we wouldn't be able to see a pediatric nephrologist in anywhere around Patterson or Baltimore for like 6 more months, maybe 9 months. The lady on the other end of the phone was very concerned about my son whenever I told her everything that was going on. And she's like, this is, you need to work on this. Let's do this, blah, 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 blah. Because she only does stuff with kidneys and babies. So right now I feel kind of guilty because I can't find my selfie stick in the Grand Migration to Manassas. I don't know what happened to the selfie stick. So you guys have been like getting less recording because I don't have a selfie stick. And I know it sounds silly, but it's so much, it's easy because there's a little tripod thing. Like I'm gonna have to make a video just on the tripod thing, or the selfie stick thing. Evidently I bought it in 2018, and I don't know, it got copied away somewhere. And as some of my former employees know, I'm the special cat that like sometimes I buy things because I have a grand idea, but then like life is really busy because I have way too many things on my plate, which I'm not complaining about. But it's like if I put it somewhere and then it gets buried by other stuff, like literally or physically or emotionally or backburnered because I just don't have time for it, then I forget about it because it's out of sight, out of mind. And that's one of those executive functioning things and like just being super busy things. And then when I get to that area, because like life has calmed down or whatever has happened, I'm like, oh, look at this cool selfie stick thing. I don't even remember buying this, or I do remember buying this and I'm super excited about it. So I bought it in 2018 and it has taken until 2023 for me to start using it. And so now that it's missing out of my life and it made my life so much easier, I want it back because I don't know where it is. And it's frustrating, but I may have ordered another one because when you find something that you like, you kind of get another one. I did take a chance. So there were 15 of my selfie sticks left. And then I found like a new and improved one that's supposed to go a little bit taller. And then the little tripod-y thing is supposed to be a little bit better. So I'm going to test it and see if it's better than the 2018 version. And then we will see. The other thing that is holding me up on content with you guys, or at least like recording content, is that I'm kind of going a mile a minute because I'm like, my house is all messed up. And I have complete control of this house, minus like a crazy cat lady that gets grumpy if she thinks that her crazy cats are having any compromised lifestyle factors or anything. And then, Miss Mary, because she lives there and, she's like, Michelle's back, so Michelle's going to be getting grumpy about XYZ or whatever, because I am. I get grumpy about stuff because I want my stuff to be all organized, because I'm just calm. When my environment is the way that I want it to be, I'm calm. And then I found out about the VOC thing, because it's like, hey, Patterson normally is like my comfy, calm place. And all of a sudden I was getting grumpy for no reason. And I do enough system checks where I'm like, okay, this has to be an environmental thing. Something is wrong with my house. And so then that caused me to be all freaked out because I am the house person. Like, I am the person that goes to other people's houses and I'm like, hey, there's a gas leak. Hey, there's a water leak. Hey, there's a moisture intrusion. Hey, this house is trying to tell you by that noise that it has an electrical problem. Like, that's me. I'm like a house doctor. I don't have the fancy papers to be a house doctor. I hopefully will acquire the fancy papers for house stuff, and I'm going to start that venture as like the buy and hold investment properties, whatever you want to call them, as the portfolio gets a little tweaked up, because we are still really behind from all the COVID stuff and the pre-COVID stuff of like, hey, we bought these houses and we need to work on them because like we have good people that, need spaces, but then like things happen and then, grumpies happen, and then like we're all just kind of doing the best that we can, and then you have to worry about this person being grumpy or that person not being grumpy or whatever. You guys get it. And if you don't, then your life has been too easy. If you don't understand that it's hard for people out here trying to make sure that everything is squared up, then like, I don't know, maybe you're living your best like Aspie Cat life. I'm living my best Aspie Cat life, but I still have things that like will catastrophically explode in my face. And so right now I am like semi-reactive and semi-proactive. And I don't think I've told you guys before, but like I have a general lifestyle thing because I'm used to things like blowing up in my face and I don't like it. Whereas I would rather be super proactive rather than be super reactive. Reactive is when, there's a fire in your house and you're hunting for that fire extinguisher that you're not sure where you put it. And you're just like, oh geez, where did it go? Blah, 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 blah. Okay, proactive is you're cooking and all of a sudden, boom, there's a little fire and okay, either if I, put something on it or if I just put a lid on it and I'm just like calm because I've had something ignite in my kitchen before. If I, extinguish the fire by smothering it, then I'm good. Or, you try to smother it and then you're like, oh, nope, it like caught the, curtain on fire. But you know what? I have a fire extinguisher that is rated for the kitchen over here that is specifically for kitchens. Like, I can give you guys so many videos and so much content on so many things. Like, did you know that there are different types of fire extinguishers? And they have different colors for different reasons, because they're meant to put out different things. And like, you should have them in the right areas. So, that's my kind of stuff. Is I'm a house person. No, I do not know all the information and all the stuff for the houses. But you know what? I have this like little computer that I can carry around and make phone calls on. And so it's like, I know that there are different colors of smoke alarm, or not just smoke alarms, of different fire alarms. You guys, I only got like 2 hours of sleep. So give me a second. That was wrong. I know that there are different colors of fire extinguishers. So if I am in a house and I am looking for fire extinguishers, one, I know that fire code says for commercial buildings, which would have a lot more people than, residential, I know where the fire extinguishers should go. I know that they should be like tilted upside down every so often because I've talked to the fire extinguisher guys. I know how to visually inspect that thing is still good. I know that the little ones last X amount of time. I know that if they're out of the green, then they still will work, but they will not work really efficiently. And so I visually check them every now and then. I know that, fire marshals and stuff require emergency evacuation things. I know all these things. And so therefore, not yet, Patterson doesn't have one yet, but I know that I would post, fire evacuation posters in my house. And, when I had my life more organized because my life was not blowing up. And I feel like this video is going to get extra scrutiny because I say blowing up a lot. But anyways, I was kind of anal about all the stuff that had to do with my house whenever my life was in order. I had little forms for if people spent the night and they need to fill this out because I wanted to know about any pre-existing health conditions that might arise. I wanted to know about allergies. I wanted emergency contact information. I wanted all the things. And that was because I would worry about the things. And because I knew that, from having daycares, that sometimes children have pre-existing medical conditions. And maybe, just maybe, if you're taking the responsibility of having that child come over and play and, enjoy themselves, I need to know if that child knows how to swim. I need to know if that child's allergic to shellfish. I need to know a lot of things because I am taking care of that child while their mommy cat or their daddy cat is not around. And I take that responsibility, or I took that responsibility very seriously. And people would look at me like, really? Do I have to fill out this form in order for my child to spend the night with you? I'm like, yes, you do. Because children were my specialty. Because children were important. And so people forget that whatever's going on with their children, they tell the people at school. And they tell the daycare children, or they tell the daycare children. It shows in the way that they play. It shows in the way they talk about stuff. Children are little sponges, and they react very well to positive encouragement and positive discipline. And sometimes, just sometimes, if mommy and daddy are having domestic issues or something like that, the daycare person or the teacher is going to know because it's going to show through with the children. But sometimes parents decide to add a little deception to their little cats, so then they're Deceptor cats. And yes, that is a Transformer thing, I think, because it's Decepticons. And so sometimes children think that they have to protect parents by not saying stuff. And when you start teaching your children to be really reserved on that kind of stuff, yes, it is good for you as an adult because now you're doing negative things around your child and your child doesn't have anyone to talk about. That also builds anxiety. And that also makes it where if someone is going to do bad stuff to your child, maybe your child's not going to say anything to anyone because they think that if they tell mommy and daddy, or mommy or daddy, then they're going to get in trouble, or that person's going to get in trouble because they like that person and they're confused and they're trying to process it. And I know I'm going all over the place with that, and there's no reason for it other than I have met a lot of children in a lot of different places. And those children that I'm talking about, I can tell you that as soon as I meet them, I know that they've had little things or big things that they shouldn't have had exposure to, and it breaks my heart because they need to have a safe falling space to fall into. They need to have trusted grown-ups that will protect them, that they can say the stuff to. And if you box them off, it bothers them. And this is going to be one of those hard videos to label what I talk about because I've just gone from baby kidneys with nephrology and someone that's trying to self-diagnose, or not self-diagnose. I'm not trying to diagnose myself. I know what's going on with me. I know what's quote unquote wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with me, but there's a lot wrong with me medically. But then I'm trying to do the best that I can. But I go from, pediatric nephrology, which is baby kidney doctors or children's kidney doctors, to talking about how you're interacting with your children. And I also touched on fire extinguishers. And I also touched on, fire safety a little bit and emergency preparedness. I touched on a lot of different things. And it's because that's what happens in conversations with me. And it's not because I am ADD or ADHD and I can't stay focused, because I was focused enough to give you a bulletin of what I just talked about. But it's because one channel of information leads to another channel of information, and it's all this little web of information that I have in my mind. It's kind of like when you do a Google search and you're looking for cats, you're going to see like cats here, cats there. And I even touched on the crazy cat lady and the cats in the house. I touched on a lot of stuff, and home organization and setting healthy boundaries and creating a calm for your environment. I touched on a lot of stuff. So, you know, the basic thing of this is I feel guilty. I haven't given you guys nearly enough content. I'm going to try to work on that. And that's the other variable change. Is like if it's just me and Izzy and we're going to the Dollar Tree and we're doing a video, we are having fun. We don't care if people think that we are cuckoo birds or crazy cats or insert whatever little not nice thing, because sometimes if you've super studied social behaviors and body language and all the other stuff, or like, I don't know, it's pretty obvious that people see that you're recording stuff and they're smiling because they're like, oh look, that's so cute. A mommy and a baby, or a mommy and a daughter, or maybe a mommy and a little family are having like fun while they're shopping, and it's such a boring, mundane task. But really and truly, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's shopping therapy, because sometimes, you know, it's something that you can spend money on. You can feel good about yourself. You can feel like I'm going to do all these little things, or this is self-care or beautification of the house. And, you know, sometimes it's a chore. It's something that you have to do as an obligation. I'm out of milk and I have to get milk for the house, and this is very annoying. So, but then other times, like maybe somebody doesn't want to be filmed, but then they're looking at the perspective, because if you don't want to be filmed, you normally notice where the filming could happen. So then you duck away really quick and you're like, ooh, I hope I wasn't on camera because, ooh, I maybe did something and like, or been accused of something, and I don't want to like be somewhere that someone identifies me. And so I try to, like, when we're recording, I try really hard to like look and see if the people are looking around and they're thinking, oh, look at that cute stuff. Or if they're looking at it grumpy, like, what are you doing? You better not get my face in that, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, I am trying to be respectful and I have nothing to do with you. So therefore, I might have caught your legs or your shoes. But if that's an identifiable thing for you, then like, I'm sorry, I am trying to be as respectful as I can with boundaries and all that stuff. So basically, I just want to let you guys know that I haven't forgotten about you, because at some point these videos are going to slowly get like, you know, published and stuff like that, and I have to figure out how to organize them, and I still have to find the Patterson and Georgetown phones. I don't know what I did with them. They're somewhere, and when I find them, I will charge them, because right now, for the first time in many, many years, I am down to one phone, and I don't like it, because I like having two phones, because if I lose one phone, then I have another phone and I can call the first phone, or separation of business and personal, or I can use one phone for one thing and the other phone for the other thing, or I get twice the battery power, and that way I don't have to worry about being like so dedicated to charging my phone and keeping up with my battery like everyone else. And yes, I'm fortunate enough to have two phones, but guys, gals, me's and O's that have two phones, I want you guys to respect and be happy. You know, I know some of the little street terms for having two phones. I am one of those business people where I have two phones, and you are technically a business person with your two phones. You have a separation of your business from your personal, and I'm proud of you no matter what you're doing. You don't care if you're doing the stuff, as long as you're like doing stuff that is within reason and you have like a code book that doesn't mess people up. Don't try to mess people up. Don't try to be a grumpy cat. Don't try to get people to do bad things. You know, if they're doing bad things, then like that's on them, and you know, supply, demand, all that good stuff. And if you're like trying to help them out in little areas, then that's good. And you know what? I'm talking about people that have a shopping habit. They just can't stop shopping. They just can't stop going to like, you know, that friend of theirs, because that friend of theirs like maybe makes bracelets, and like, or they you know, they're the peddler of fine goods. That's the thing that I say is like, hey, what do you do? I do this. Oh, you're the peddler of fine goods. So you are the equivalent of the person that would sell the salts and the spices and travel from here or there, or know somebody that knows somebody. So like you're getting, what is it, ginger, which I am not a fan of. You get ginger from your friend and you go here. And now, because of this little map and traffic, you guys have distracted me from a turn. So therefore, this is going to be a bye-byes of the stuff. Plus it's like almost it's gonna be 25 minutes long. And like there's a guy, it's like gotta be a window guy, because one, there's windows, but he has some cool ladders. And so I am going to like put to memory what he's done to make his ladders more secure, because he looks like a solo person or someone that is safe. And it's stuff like this, like pay attention when you're on the road, because you will see people that know how to do lots of cool things, and maybe they'll help you a little bit. So anyways, I will see you guys later. Have a fantastic day. Bye.